me just turn the light on. Hold on. Just turning on a light. You can't even see me. I'm invisible. Who am I? Where am I? What am I? That's slightly better. I think you probably see me okay. Anyway, it's Tom here from the RecallSingularity. Making a factory game in space. Talking in this voice for some reason. There we go, back to normal. I thought tonight we might just spice things up a bit by throwing on some music. Hopefully you like it. And yeah, hi to all my regulars. I've been I love this song. I've been doing a lot of streaming, 12 hours offset from now. It's gonna be hard to talk along with the music all night long. We'll have to see how that goes. Yeah, we will. I was end up humming to it. Okay, so put that there. And chat room somewhere around here. Put that down. Like this. And bring up the Twitch stream thing. And oh, 4 people watching already. That's cool. Hey. Create a dashboard. I almost feel like I shouldn't ruin the music for you by talking over it now. So this is the music of Crypto the Necrodancer. Hey, Wick Instructor, good to see you. How's the music for you? Excellent. Okay. I'm just trying to figure out for myself where I want to start with this. So I've got a client list here, and we had a way that we were going to introduce a player with a puck. They enter through this system when the sector notices a player has joined. So I thought while I was on my laptop today that I wanted to make sure that the player had a way to respawn. Wrong repository. This is the one I want right here. Let's pull that down. So I drafted out a system for game respawn. Check this out. So in specs, a system is something that you run against all the components and you specify which components it needs to use. Once you do that, it can do things with those. So in this case, I've added a system that's going to notice when you have clients and those clients don't have pucks, which are like people. So let's think about what the people need to have. We want to know what pucks there are because we want to make one. So read player pucks. We need to also read what's it called when you want to read component bit of a reference. I think it's called just read, like this. That's right. Just say read if that's what you want to do. So I'll just say read me to you. So I believe that as that indicated, I need to use a lifetime here. Yes, a lifetime for the system. There we go. Put an A. Feels weird to do a long explanation over music. I was thinking that you don't need to pass actions for things that are already synchronized. So if we've got a system that's using data that all the clients and servers have, they can just act directly on the components. So it's like this player entered action. Player appears, needs to make all these things. These are all things we're going to have to create with my system. A biped force. Build a grid construction zone. This is all part of respawning. It's a lot of bits. It's very hard for me to talk over this music. When I do, I want to do it to the beat, which is probably strange for you guys, but that's how it is, I guess. And then I end up being mostly silent. Yeah, let me just turn it down a bit. And then I'll turn it up for you, so you get to enjoy the music as much without distracting me so much. That probably works pretty well. Player appears needs to be biped. Yes, so we need all these different parts here, which is a little bit overwhelming, to be honest, in my system. Makes me want to just lock the whole world. Oh, that's the other point, is I don't even need to. See, I was thinking I needed to grab all the read storages, but there's actually a different way of adding stuff. There's this entity creation method. I think it's just called entities res or something similar. Let me have a look in here. So, greetings to everyone who is here and doesn't know what I'm talking about. I'm making a game called the RecallSingularity, which is a Rust game, Godot and Rust together, in which you build factories and explore space. I'm currently worrying about player respawning. So if we know that a client is here, they need to actually have something to control. So I'm just busy thinking to myself about how to make that happen. So let's have a look in the specs documentation for some ideas. And you're currently listening to the Crypt of the Necrodancer music. Crypt of the Necrodancer is a really great dance, computer game, dungeon crawl, roguelike. Killer music. I mean to jump to the docs. So in here, there's like an entities object that you can use that can build stuff. I think it's called entities res. Yes. So in order to create an entity, we can just call this create function and it returns like a builder, build entity. Does entity res builder require you to with? Yes, you need to pass the storage in for every one. Okay, so this is going to be a pretty complicated and in-depth system if I do it this way. Because I've got so many components in my bloody thing. Oh well, I guess we're just going to get on with it then. So respawn, let's put this in vertically. This is my favorite song on the on this particular album. I just wish they had the shopkeeper sing on the official soundtrack, because that's the best part, but didn't mix that in for this. I need to play the game to hear it. Just copying each of the different things from the left to the right. For each of these I'll need a read of some kind. Sorry, a write. That's what happens when you're about to die on the level for taking too long. So, Crypt of the Necrodancer, I suggest you guys play it, it's really good. So I'm just creating a system class on the right hand side here, which contains all the different storages I need to modify when I create a player, so that I can add them. It's a bit of boilerplate, it's quite annoying. I probably could get everything from our own prelude. So it's a respawning read here. Okay, so we've got a respawning read. These are the different things that we need, so I guess I should call it respawning write because it's got all the write stuff. Okay, this is system data, and it's public. So when I am respawning a player, I'm going to use this system here. Respawning system, system data equals respawning write. Import that from there. So C-line does all the importing magic for me. reduce the amount of work I have to do. Okay. Why is that still red? I need to specify a... Oh, I didn't define it as needing a lifetime. Do I need a lifetime? Probably. Yes. So I need to say that this struct has a lifetime A, and then I need to implement system for lifetime A. It's just part of the lifetimes of all these. Read and write storages here. Bit of a nuisance. Oh, that's right, you put the impl like this. Excellent. That's all happy. So in run, given we have the data we have, the first thing we need to do is determine which players don't have any puck yet. So I'm going to need to put the client list in here as well, which is a write, and it contains here the client list. So this is all the people who are currently connected to the server, and so for each person who's connected to the server we need to give them a biped, which is like a little player. Client list. We have data here. So first thing to do is find people who don't for requires respawning in client list dot clients dot values. I think there's a values in hash map for Rust. Let's just check. Yes, we've got a values. We probably want values mute because we want to be able to change it. So for the players that require a spawn, they're going to be mute. And clients.values mute. We're going to filter this. So given a player, and let's just bring the client list over here. What do we want to know? It's when their entity is none. So, oh, there's a dot is none, we'll do that. When the player's entity is none, we need to make them a new biped. Now, I also thought we'd have this entity called respawning. So we require implementation of component for respawning, so we can make a component out of that. Do I have an example? Let's bring up player. That's the wrong one, but it works for me. This doesn't actually. Here's a player puck. That's an example of a component, right? No, that wasn't a player puck I was looking for. Yeah. That's not how long. Make it worse, not better. It's very hard not to hum along to the songs. Not sure if the music's making it easier or harder to watch me. Oh well. I think we're doing music for me. You guys can just put up with it as best you can. Hopefully it's not too bad. Might switch to this next. Might be this. Oh, so good. Fine. Let's do that now. So jump across the winter garden. Boop. Such beautifully timed music. Such a master musician. So now we're going to create an entity using the entity builder, which is in data. So we can use data.entities. And then if we have a look in this documentation I brought up earlier, I can go back, build entity. So we're going to do now. So we'll just go through each of the different things that our biped needs. We'll put them in here. I always feel like there should be some standard way of doing this. And again, the times. It feels very boilerplate-y, doesn't it? Oh well. All the different parts of the new player. Each one requires its values. We use the constructor instead of just doing ourselves here. Child world. So we're going to have to assume they're in the space world. Later on we can get smarter than that. Find the first ship that could spawn in, find the first spawner, that sort of thing. Very similar to this. So which global world ID do we use? Space world ID. Oh yes, I need to pass a mutable reference here to it, as opposed to pass it indirectly. And data needs to be mute as well. Like so. Great. That's solved. We're going to need to know what the client's force is. So if we look at the client's list, we're going to store a force ID in here. I'll just bring the volume down on that music a bit. There we go. So normally I make more of a concession to providing a lot of explanation, but this stuff is just so hard to watch already. I'm concerned that it would just, so hard to explain already. I think it would be incredibly distracting for me to try and explain as I went along. So trust me, normally when you watch, you'll see a lot of explanation going on. Oh, thanks for the follow, PTTM. I appreciate that. At least I'm doing something right, obviously, to get your follow. So this player that requires respawning has this force IT. I still have lost my chat window. Excellent. I think what I'll do is I'll play this last song out and then I'll pause the music, because I believe it's preventing you guys from enjoying your music, and you can pick the music you want to play over me. Great, that's the first two fields. Player appears, so the rest is pretty straightforward stuff. Enter input, item grid. Here we go. A construction zone. So that's going to define where they can build. A biped inhabit. It's going to tell them that the client owns this one. And then for every one of these fields, I still require a mute here. Almost done. Great. So it's our new biped. Let new biped equal this. And there's a done I call at the end, I think. Build. And at the end I call build. And that will do for the music. I hope you enjoyed that. I suggest if you like music in the background, you put some on of your own now, because I'm going to save you from mine, and then that way you can enjoy the one you want rather than put up with what I'm playing. But I hope you enjoyed that. New biped. Let me just mute my desktop. So if you're creating a new biped like this, and the next thing we're going to do is modify the client list, requires respawning. We're going to mention that they have a puck. Where are we? In here. So we say the puck is equal to sum, and it's this new biped, which is going to represent them in the game world. So the point being that if they have no game thing in the game world to mention them, we solve that with this process here. And I'm going to add one more thing, which is a respawning counter and they have a respawning on them. And let's just say it's ticks left, and we put, say, I know 100. We should do some maths to figure out how many ticks that is, but that's like 5 seconds. There's 20 per second at the moment, but it might be, we might make it faster, like 60 per second later on. Let's just put 20 in. It's not going to do anything for a little while, because I haven't got any code, but we could block input and play an animation, have a counter on the screen, that sort of thing. I thought I put something in this data. Respawning right. There's a biped inhabit, but there's not a respawning in there yet, I don't think. So we'll put a respawning in. So these are all the different things that specs needs to give us for us to be allowed to run our system. So that should let us track that there's a new player spawning at the moment. they have a puck. Because they have a puck, they should now have something to control. This is going to be very interesting to see how well this works. We could write a unit test at this point, but I'm kind of dying to see if it runs in the game. So let's just run. Let's go through a little bit more building first, though. If you're really excited, sorry. Close all in group. Close. But what we should see is that each client who joins pretty much immediately gets a little person to control. Cannot find client lists in this scope. So this needs to be data.clientList. Cannot find type respawning. So I need to make that public here. Pub. And I also need to hop across to space wrapper. So let's just open that up. This one, put it in the other side vertically, like so. And then I look at what it's currently got, and it needs to have respawning in the list. And I might just make sure that here pub use game respawn, all the things from here get used, and then this will be automatically imported by my prelude system. Apparently I'm already running this rerun. Parameter A is never used. That's interesting. Yes, so I guess I don't need it there. Okay, which means I guess I don't need it here. Is that how it works? Yeah, okay. How am I going? 14 people. And how I was thinking the music was what was driving everyone away, but obviously it's my smiley face. That's okay. Missing field. I'm just being incredibly boring, actually, to be brutally honest. Client detail. Stop talking, Tom, while you're still ahead. Force ID is equal to force ID, and we're just going to use, say, some hard-coded number. Later on, we'll probably have some number in here per client, so everyone can own different things. Do I have somewhere I've defined like a standard force ID for everyone to use? I might just go ahead and register something that's just like standard force ID or something. Pub const. Standard force ID for everybody to use for now, because I want everyone to be friends and everyone's going to own everyone else's spaceships and that sort of thing. But later on we're going to have our own, which is what force ID is for. Standard force ID like this. Which means here we can just write standard force ID. No field client. Yeah, but we don't want client, we want biped. Hold on a second. Oh, it's client ID, and it requires respawning.client ID. Yeah. Oh, there's a player ID, I call this. We'll find out. Looks like it. No. Okay, it's a client detail. Oh, I didn't put it in the client detail. It's only in the hash map itself. It's not in the detail about the client. Okay, so if I want that, I'm going to need to actually, instead of using values mute, I'm going to use items or iter mute. And then that means that here I have a client ID and detail for each client that requires. For each client that requires respawning, make them a new biped. Client ID and detail. So here, unpack those. We don't need the client ID for this. And well, we just call them player actually rather than detail. And then down here we say client ID. And there's a way of dereferencing like this, I think. Well, we're not going to change the client ID. Cannot find requires respawning. Yep, because now it's called player. Oh, and a bit further down we need to say player.puck is now the new biped. Yep. And expected tuple found reference. I think it's just saying I need to dereference this and dereference this. Or do I put the ampersand here like that? Cannot assign to player puck as player is not declared as mutable. It looks mutable from here. Maybe I should just get rid of that and write mute like this and see how that goes. Wonderful. So for this stream I'm kind of going for something a bit more low-key and relaxed. I already had a stream 12 hours ago, 13 hours ago this morning, and did a lot of nuts and bolts to get a player in place. And so I thought I would have a shorter stream. I didn't particularly want to do a lot of promotion because I didn't want people to get excited and then come along, and I only did this for a little short time, like a couple of hours, as opposed to staying up all night. So I don't know, it felt wrong somehow to promote it, and especially after having just promoted this morning's stream. So because of that, really only followers, browsers, well, you know, yourselves basically have come along. Okay, so is there something here we can control? Doesn't seem to be accepting input. Oh, it just occurred to me that all the code that I've just written isn't being run yet. So if I quit out of this and this, I need to also write a little piece of code to make sure the respawning system actually gets called. So that's in wrapper space here. So a bit further down here I need to just say it's time to run this baby. Now in Specs you can actually organize like a little class that will call everything in parallel and other good things. This hasn't been imported or something. I need to mention it's public here, I think. But I'm not using that because it actually creates a thread pool and it's terrifically expensive. There's probably some clever workaround for it. A thread pool requires 2 different lifetime variables, so before you know it you end up with thousands of lifetime variables all through all your classes. It just got really painful, so I got rid of that and decided to run my systems in manually like this in sequence. There's not many of them right now, so it's not too bad. Okay, let's run the server again and the game. There were some errors, but they're not relevant. Oh, but the server hasn't. Oh, yes, it has. There we go. Oh, and there's a controllable little character. See the little person I'm controlling? I'm controlling with the cursor keys. So that's one person. Now, if the magic happens, I should be able to launch a second version of the game and get a second player. I see this player that belongs to the other person. Now, yeah. Oh, it's interesting. So you see how I'm moving this player, but on the other client I'm moving a different player. Okay, so we're halfway there. And I think I know the reason why. I think both actions are applying to both players. Although, if that was the case, we should see a player over here moving. Yeah. Okay. It's all very interesting. I'm not quite sure why exactly it's that way around. We shall figure that out now. How do I like Godot? Have I used both it and Unity? Yeah. Um, how do I like Godot? Well, I like it a lot. And part of the reason why I like it so much is because it's completely free, as in freedom. So, down the track, I'm not trapped with Godot. If some part of my game isn't working for me, for instance, the renderer isn't working, I can just tear it out and replace something new wholesale. The other thing I like about it is that just makes it feel better as well. Like, it feels like my game is my game. It's not me making my game in someone else's engine and it's kind of their game. But also from a working point of view, I can look in the source code, I can dive in, I can change things. And I'm seeing it change quite rapidly. Unreal has this kind of feel to it of being almost too mature, like it's locked in the past, and it's got a bunch of bolt-ons that are in the future. And yeah, its integration with DLLs like the one I'm writing in Rust is a bit icky. So, also not a big fan of the way they do components in Unity. It feels like you're completely trapped with your game logic in their world. So, yeah, not a huge fan. I'm just going to take a moment, guys. I'll be right back. I said, yeah, fair enough. Terminal Bash. When you install Unity, you'll notice it has a light theme. If you want to use a dark theme, you have to pay them money. Now, I can kind of see where they're coming from a let's look across an office and see if they've licensed it point of view, but to me it just seems like a giant raised middle finger to all people who are trying to develop games by themselves, and it just was a huge turn off for me as well. It was like, no, this is our engine, it's not your engine. You can't do what you want with it. I can't think of any better way to put me off, personally. So, yeah. Where was I at? Okay, so I think that the player input action is being applied to everybody, or at least it's being applied to the wrong place. So look at player input. I'm not sure I put a client ID in it. I did, player ID. Okay, so we get a client list. Okay. I think probably need to write a print line here for this to make sense. It has occurred to me that one of the clients probably doesn't know. Do the clients know their own ID? That's part of it. So one small part of it is that the client probably doesn't know their own ID, and I probably hard-coded it in somewhere. A second problem is, so when I'm talking about like when you push inputs, does it go to the right place? The other problem is to do with the guy who just joined. No network stuff is actually telling him what clients are present at the moment, I don't think. So when they join the server, I need to actually say, here are the clients that are present, and here is their version of this fixed storage containing respawns. And maybe I should move this, I might move this off the origin slightly. So let's just say we put it at 1, 1, 1, so it's at a different place. And then to the xlock, we add client ID as F32 times 0.1, and we modulus this by a number, so client ID modulus 10, say, and then so we're making a grid of them. So whenever someone joins, they'll get their player in a different place, and this one is divided by 10. So that for the first 100 people, you get a little grid. For respawning, what else do I want to do? I want to think about, where does this player ID come from? So it's going to be in my Star World link here. Yeah, it's hard coded to always be client 1. So how do we know what client we are? Here we start a client. At what point do we realize, does the server send us a client ID? I don't know if we're even told that we're a client ID, what our client ID is. When there's a sector, inside sector we have this idea of clients, and we send some of the stuff across. Let me just run the server again real quick and see if I can see myself writing it out. Okay, it doesn't like my maths. Run, build this. Okay, so for both of these values, both of these things, I need to say 0.0, which is to unpack it from inside a kind of struct tuple thing. Because you look at client ID, it's a it's one of these kind of structures you define as being kind of a tuple with one value in it. So server client. The thing I'm wondering is did I actually write some message that goes from the server to the client when it starts up saying what its client ID is? And if so, where does that data go? So you see now, if you look at this, you'll see that well, I'm not going to, you can see that this player is offset slightly. So you can see that, you know, a couple have been created. So just run up here in the game, see what gets sent. I don't say here any other networking stuff, I don't think. So I just say that there is a client online, but we don't say it's you. Yeah. There's a point in the server where we have these clients. Let's just see what I do on server. manage this problem. So we got this client lookup of connection IDs to client state objects connected or disconnected with a certain ID number. When the person gets connected, do we tell them how they're connected? Server connected, lost connection, handle messages, process incoming, send outgoing. Where are we? Okay, so we say they're connected. I thought at this point we did something. We had some state around processing these messages that create a connection. Or did I hide all that later on? Yeah, I think I deleted that code because I didn't need the back and forth because I put it into my protocol in the end. Okay, so we don't have that. Then how does the server communicate state? I'm pretty sure we send out a tick. That's what we need to do, is we need to make sure that the tick message we send out all the time tells the player what client they are. So there's this idea of a sync or tick sent from the sector. Might be the server state structure. Why can't I jump to it? Okay, and then what do we do with server state? So we send the server state, and then we set new state to equal the server state. So it's a pretty natural place to put the client ID maybe. Let's see where we send a message server state for the whole sector. Here we are creating a server state. Great. Wonderful. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll modify the server state message so that it has space for the client ID. Why can't it jump to this? We know the client ID, we call it connection ID here. Connection ID. And then we go into this, we go into that. Why won't it jump to message? Which is in network server messages. Okay, let's open the file directly. Server messages. There's the messages. Connect server state. Yeah, seems like the right place for it still. Put the client ID in there. So I think that makes this okay. Yep, that's happy now. And then at the other end, where we unpack it, it'll also be in sector. Here. So in this case it's in process message. So we've got a new state and we've got a client ID, like so, and so we say state received, so self dot client ID equals client ID. Great. Now when we make sure that we have a client ID field here, ID, which is a instance of this class called client ID. Great. And then when we want to make an action, we mention it inside our player. Where are we? GT star world link. This is when the person pushes a button. We collect their input, and we're going to use a sector. So, in fact, I think I actually already considered this a bit. I think I decided that when a player sends a player input, they probably should force them to be controlling themselves. So, at the point we receive it, we put the player and ID in. Oh well, in the interest of just keeping things really robust and rigid, we'll just put it in here. So, input.playerID equals sector dot client ID, like this. And it could be that in sector client ID we need to make a function to return this in the, like a getter function. So pub function with that name takes a reference to self and returns one client ID, like so. Self.client ID. Wonderful. And here we need to also define that client ID has some value. Client ID equals. Probably should define something for invalid. So I'll put one here for invalid connection ID and make that 502. And then go back to here, and the default can be invalid connection ID. Good. Oh, thanks Toggle for dropping by. It was nice to see you. Yes, this is in Rust, by the way, terminal bash. I'm not sure how long your question has been sitting there for, but yeah, I use Rust and Godot together to make games. So, that's what we're doing. Compiling the network. Did I ever actually call this function? I don't remember calling it from here. No, this needs to be a function call. And we need to move this down slightly to where we actually have the sector variable, and this needs to be mute in order for us to be able to use it. This server's not running yet. There we go. So we have this one character. If we run another game, what do we get? We get a second. Oh my god. Both of them are agreeing on who's controlling the second. Okay. So what's interesting is there was a biped created up here, but because this character didn't know the player was controlling that biped, this client spawned a new biped for this client to use. That one there. And this is because the client ID table is not being cloned that it did that. But this one is in the correct place. So you see that that is completely cloned to the right place. So just so these two computers disagree on who is controlling this character and that character. How is the Rust support anything you can't do? No, it's fully Rust, and most of my simulation is in pure Rust. It's not directly supporting Rust. Rust is creating a DLL, and there's certain entry points you can use. It might make a bit more sense if you follow my Godot tutorial. How I use this one here as a story. But I've written a tutorial as well. And so you basically create a DLL in Rust, which you can put anything in you like. And then it has certain entry points that Godot uses to find your script classes, as they're called. Blam. So have a look at the tutorial. And if you want, you can come and hang out in our Discord, which is here. Welcome. Invite people. Copy that. Paste it in the chat. Please drop by. Wonderful. Okay. Enjoy. So this client table that I've got on both clients needs to be synchronized before we can let the clients run their clocks. So that means I need to add it to the synchronization logic. I got something called synchronized space. Space serialization. And it takes bipeds and spaceships, actor inputs, and it uses those to send the information about them across the network so everyone agrees on where those things are at. And I can't remember how often I serialize and deserialize, whether I do it every frame. I think I do it a lot less often. I'm pretty sure I do it just the once. But what I do know is we need to synchronize who is controlling things. So let's jump across to, so we probably could call that a partial success commit, and just start making staging some changes. There's some pretty big changes in these. Yeah, that seems about right. So spawn each client a new puck when they join the game. That player input has the right client ID in it. Okay. Let's look at the view account. Excellent. Push. So the next thing to do was to synchronize this But you know what? I think I might just call it a short stream tonight and just say, that's all, folks. I might go and have a bit of a relax and a bit of an earlier night than I would when I'm normally streaming. You'll find if you have a look at my stream history that there are old streams available. I'm not sure if I can actually even replay. But feel free to go back and have a look at my old streams. Otherwise, have fun on Twitch. Jump onto my Discord, search for the RecallSingularity, and I'm on Twitter. If you want to read lots of endless tweets about progress, probably should make a little GIF. In fact, before I go, let's just make a little GIF about our progress. So, I'll start the server. Is it already running? Yeah, so we'll quit the server. So we'll start the server. And we'll start the game. And I'll start the game again. So it's the first game starting there, and the second game starting there. So there's 2 copies of the game running. And this time round, I didn't move either player, so their positions should agree. Now I'm going to make it really itty bitty, and the reason why is because the GIFs had to be really small. So let's just make it very small, down like this. And for the sake of a nice GIF, we'll move both people. So let's move the first person. So can you see the little person moving here? We'll put them inside the floor of the ship, and then I'll jump to the other client and move that person to the floor of the ship. And then we'll zoom in a bit and move across here, and we'll zoom in a bit and move across here. And let's bring up LiceCap, which is this great little GIF making tool I like to use, like this. And we go record, and then we choose multi-pucker, because I call these things pucks, and we have different players moving around. Stop. And if I jump into my folder of GIFs, so GIF cap. I saw a GIF cap in here a second ago. Yes, very popular. Let's look at multi-pucker. So that's our little GIF that we made. And jump into Twitter and just say each client now spawns in as an independent little person. They can be controlled individually. The server of right now, if you joined late, there is some hilarity when you disagree who controls which person. And we should put all the requisite hashtags in, because that's what you do when you're promoting like Godot engine. Apparently Godot has 180 tweets, so I'll just do Godot, or game dev, or rustling tweet. So that's the kind of hilarity and incredibly exciting stuff you'll see if you happen to be on my Twitter. You'll see some nice updates about the game. So thank you for joining me for a nice relaxed evening of coding. Usually it's a little bit more intense, a few more people, and a lot longer. I hope you have a great evening or morning and a nice day. Catch you later.